Las Vegas Hospitality Evolution. As a professor of hospitality and born and raised here in Las Vegas, I'm cataloging the movers and shakers of how this town evolved and what it was all about. It just didn't spring up from nothing, but we've had some very innovative, creative people. I don't know if the desert got them here or what happened, but we have some very unique people that has turned this town from a small, dusty, when I say dusty, I was born and raised here, a dusty city, a dusty small city, into a metropolitan a city that's highly diverse. The gentleman that I am going to introduce to our domestic and international viewers is, without a doubt, first of all, he's my friend. Secondly, we have lived in Vegas for over half of a century, and we've known each other ever since we were kids. But my friend has done something that this town really needed. And not only did this town need it socially, but it needed it because it brought people together. And Mr. Wendell P. Williams, he has a school named after him. He has some stories that we've talked about before air that I really want to get into that's going to be very interesting to the viewer. But hospitality evolution, he is the epitome of that. When in this era of that we're talking about now, doing diversity being increased in Las Vegas, Nevada, and the embracing of different cultures here in Las Vegas. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome my friend Wendell P. Williams. And I keep saying P because you're going to find out why he is named Wendell P.
Right.
Williams. We call it Wendell P.
Right.
But Mr. Williams, and I'm going to say Mr., and then we're gonna start off formal, and then we're gonna, we're gonna loosen up.
Right.
So I want to ask you, what brought you to Las Vegas, Nevada, number one, and then we're gonna backtrack, and I want to find out the significance of your name.
Okay.
So what brought you here to this town?
Well, I came to Las Vegas in 1977, same day Elvis died, and I was driving. I had never been out of the state of Louisiana in my life. Had never been on an airplane. I was 26 years old. So I'm driving in the middle of the night, and I said, "Wow, Las Vegas! I heard about this. I had never been anywhere. I grew up in the South, and so I come down to the Strip, and there was a club on the Strip called the Fox Trap at the time. I don't know if you remember it, Lonnie.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a young lady there, and I'm like, I thought Las Vegas was glitz and glamour, and why is it so dark? And she gave me a line. I knew it was a line. She says, well, today Elvis died, so that king left, so you the king that's coming in, so he had to go. So I knew it was a line, but then I love Las Vegas so much. I like the uniqueness of it, and you got to realize that coming from the Delta in Louisiana, the only African Americans that were here, who weren't born here, were from the Delta. So I knew some people here, but I came in because I do a class. I teach a class to teachers the 150-year migration of African Americans to Las Vegas. So they came from the Delta first because they were working $2, $3 a day in the Delta, and ironically, they were getting the lumber to build a dam from Tallulah, Louisiana. So the obvious question would be, why would you get lumber from Tallulah, Louisiana, and bring it all the way back to Las Vegas. So it turned out that the owners of the lumber mill in Tallulah, Louisiana, were the owners of the San Francisco 49ers.
Wow.
So they kind of like had a hookup, I guess.
Right.
And all the people there said, well, why is all this lumber going out to Vegas? So they followed, their dreams and came to Las Vegas. And in the hospitality business, they could work as maids, porters, $20, $25 a shift, compared to $3 a day in Louisiana. Which is why Joe Neal, Lonnie Chaney, those guys that I served in the legislature with, they were all from Louisiana. Joe Neal was from Mound, Louisiana, which is a few steps outside of Tallulah. Lonnie Chaney was from Tallulah, because Louisianas was the only one here that of African Americans who weren't born here. So I came and the town was wide open, and it was a city country town.
And you're an educator,
Yes.
am I right?
Yes.
Did you teach in the school district here?
Yeah, I taught in the school district. Taught at Garside Junior High School. Met Miss Shirley Barber, who is my mentor and my hero. I taught for her at Mabel Hogard. Mabel Hogard School in Las Vegas it's named after the first African American female teacher. And so I went to Mabel Hogard when they opened H.P. Fitzgerald, who was the first African American principal in Las Vegas. Worked at that school, and I got a chance to get a real good feel, because at the same time I worked at Doolittle Center, which
That's where we met.
you and I
Right.
were together and did a lot of things, and you were in the midst of doing the alumni games, getting the athletes to come back, get their education. You mean, as you do now, you do a lot of things in our community. So that brought me to Las Vegas. It was I went to KCEP Radio. There had never been a talk show on KCEP. And I went to KCEP and said, look, I want to do a talk show. And what I like about them is it's a community station. They never ask, have you ever done a talk show? Do you have any background in journalism or anything? They didn't ask me a thing, and I didn't, by the way. So they said, well, when you want to do your show? You know me, I just said Thursday nights, 8 o'clock, same time Cosby comes on the air. So I went up against Cosby. It was it's the only show that they haven't changed the name, Straight Talk. Commissioner Weekly does the show now. I did Straight Talk. Probably less than 10 years, I ended up in the state legislature. I was chair of education for the state for 16 years, ended up being the first African American speaker of the House. And Las Vegas has been real good. But
it's been real good, but you have been an individual, just in retrospect of knowing you and knowing as a friend and watching you move and shake in this town, you have always had a purpose, man.
Thank you.
And your purpose have always seemed to be to embrace the community, to lift up all the boats on this rising tide that you were a part of as far as legislation is concerned. I want to go back to something.
Yeah.
When you mentioned Garside,
Yeah.
I kind of perked up because I went to Garside.
Oh, really?
And I went there the first year it was open. I went from parochial school, from Our Lady of Las Vegas into Garside. I just want to say this, and then we're going to get back, because I'm proud of this.
Yeah.
I'm the one that named Garside Gladiators.
Really?
It came from my homeroom, and
Really?
it came from me.
Right.
So I just thought I'd throw that in there to let you know that you'll be surprised how much we have contributed, even as kids, to this town, man.
Yeah.
And if we don't talk about it, it never happened.
Yeah, right.
So now, back to you. When you taught in the school district, how diverse was the school district at that time? Can you explain that and how it evolved to now?
It wasn't diverse at all. As you know, now in Las Vegas, we have a huge Hispanic population. I remember I had one Hispanic kid in my class. That was it. That was it. And but it has evolved right now. And Las Vegas has, people, since Las Vegas is the Mississippi of the West, many times I said that's an insult to Mississippi, because what happened. We talk about the migration of African Americans coming from the South. There were also Caucasians migrating from the South as well, and they brought their attitudes with them, because African Americans could go in casinos at one time, and then when that group of people came, they said, "Hey, we don't play that where we're from," so it ended up being segregated to
Jim Crow.
Jim Crow. Jim Crow. And we still face Jim Crow now, to be real about it. But there's been many strides. There have been many people like yourself who grew up here and didn't miss a beat on making sure that people were included. The MLK parade actually has more diversity than any parade in Las Vegas. There are more Hispanics in our parade than in the Hispanic parade. But
I want to say this about the MLK parade. It is a microcosm of America when it comes to celebrating Martin Luther King. It's also a micro change, because when I was growing up, the big parade here was
Eldorado.
the Eldorado parade,
Right.
and it was entirely a culture. It was a cultural parade that didn't include us,
Right.
didn't include anyone except for the dominant culture.
Right.
However, we look forward to going to that parade.
Absolutely.
We look forward to going to that parade.
Absolutely.
They had great entertainment, and people got along.
Right.
But now, to fast forward it to now, your this parade that you founded is one of the largest, if not the largest, Martin Luther King parade, and it was done live on Channel 13 for the first time, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. It's this past year was our 41st year, and the difference is, I usually communicate with other people who do the Veterans Parade, Eldorado as well. The Eldorado Parade fell off for a number of years. It was no longer with us, and same thing with the Veterans Day Parade. The difference in the MLK Parade, it's been one person who's chaired it for 41 years. The Eldorado Parade had somebody chairing it. They left, got married, or died, or passed away, unfortunately. Same thing with the veterans. So I've done this longer than I've done anything else. And the continuity is there. So Black Entertainment Television is going to do a special on the 3 most dynamic, as they put it, parades in the nation, MLK parades, and we're one of them. It's going to be a special coming up this spring.
And keep us abreast of that, because I definitely want to try to bring you back and interview you during that time. I want to also say that ever since I've known you, if there's one word to describe you, this is just my opinion, my word for my friend, is passion, man. And so to see the parade to go to where it is now from the humble start is because of your passion. I really believe that you have a gift that, in retrospect, when I think about some of the things that you've done, that only can come from God, that you are a persuader, man. You're a persuader, and you reason with people. You don't alienate people.
And what happened at that time, everything happened at once. Governor Richard Bryan at the time, he appointed me to the State Holiday Commission. And I spent 18 days with Coretta Scott King in 1987. And she appointed me to the Federal Holiday Commission. But our organization collected signatures to change what was then Highland Boulevard to MLK. We collected 10,000 signatures. That was a fight. At the same time, when I got elected to the
When you, I don't want us to stop your roll, but when you said that was a fight, can you expound on that?
Well, there were a lot of businesses on MLK that said, well, we got to change our letterhead. We got to change our business card. We got to do they gave a number of excuses. And people offered other streets. And I wanted that street for the main reason Highland, which is now MLK, is on the freeway. So if you're driving in Las Vegas or driving through Las Vegas, whether you come near MLK Boulevard or not, you know that there's an MLK Boulevard in Las Vegas. So we did that. We lobbied for the Martin Luther King School, and the King family said to us, "We don't have any family in Las Vegas. When the school came about, we need you guys to be the family for the MLK School." So we did that, as well as my first session, my first term in the legislature. We passed the King holiday. It's interesting when you think about casinos, hospitality, the business of casinos in Las Vegas. Prior to AB 116, which passed that year, my freshman year, many people had introduced this bill to make it a holiday. All failed. They talked about how Martin Luther King finished high school at 15, graduated from Morehouse College at 19, youngest person to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. But none of that synced in with other legislators. So I had a friend of mine who was in the hospitality.
Did it not to stop you? Did it not sink in because of a culture clash, or did it not sink in because they were not educated in knowing, or no matter if he walked on water, they weren't gonna? They were pushing back against
No.
it.
If he had walked on water, they'd say he only did it because he couldn't swim. So, what happened? I had a friend of mine by the name of Faye Duncan Daniel, who worked at the Union Plaza Hotel downtown, and she said, "Let me tell you something." She said, "When the MLK weekend come around, it wasn't a holiday at that time. California had it, so we got those California tourists. They raised the hotel rates $10 to holiday rates for a holiday we didn't have. So I calculated those numbers. So there was so many million going into the convention authority account, so many went into the state budget and the county budget. So my argument was, we're making money off a holiday that we don't have. Do we really want to be like Arizona, who at the time, the Super Bowl canceled that year in Arizona, the Beatles canceled their tour that year, and so did Luther Vandross. So do we want to be like these people? When I brought the economic argument to the table, it passed. But long as I brought the dignity of the person, it didn't pass. So even now, in this town, people are realizing that it's an economic situation that Las Vegas can make money, and the convention authority is geared up now to make it a 3-day weekend destination.
That's wonderful. And when you first started off, what made you do this? Why did you? Can you remember how it came about in your mind? Because you're the founder.
Yeah.
What caused you to do this? And when you thought of it, were there any pushback? Did you have any type of self conflicts of can I do this? Should I do this? Will it hurt me? What did you think?
I never thought it would hurt me. Again, growing up in the South, Dr. King is really revered. So when I came to Las Vegas, there was an AM station here, KVOV, that said turn on your headlights, but nothing else occurred surrounding his birthday. And I'm like, we got to do more. So I was working at Doolittle Center at the time, and there was a drill team, the Westernettes, which is now the Las Vegas High Steppers. They used to practice at that Doolittle Center, and during that holiday weekend, a lot of guys would come home from college, and we'd have an MLK basketball tournament. And I'm thinking, hey, you guys can do a little performance before the tournament. Put 1 or 2 cars with this. We got a parade. So I attempted the first parade. We only had 13 entries. It was really pretty pitiful, like a funeral procession. And I told Reverend Willie Davis, who's renowned in this town, everybody knows yes. Reverend Willie Davis, go catch that fire truck and jump on there. You're the Grand Marshal. And which he did. We had 13 entries, no bands, no nothing. Dave Washington, he got us a fire engine. But now people say, look, man, they lobby to be a Grand Marshal. What can I do? What can I do to do it? But the community has embraced it. And I used to go door to door and ask people, will you be in the parade? And little small mom and pop businesses like McNeil's Quick Check, Larry's Sight and Sound, those were the only folks that were in it. I mean,
that helped sponsor.
They help sponsor.
Uh-huh.
So I put those people up today before anybody else. I mean, luckily we're blessed to have MGM, Caesars, Capital One, Smith. We have all the big names in the parade because it's really a Las Vegas event now. I mean, it's a part of the Las Vegas culture. But I'll never forget the little people and the little businesses that supported me.
That helped you start that inaugural parade.
And like KCP, I went to KCP to do the talk show. They never said, "Hey, have you done this before? Can you audition for us?" Same thing with the parade. I went to 88.1. Like I want to do this parade. They're like, "Hey, we with you." So I mean, community stations like KCP I'll always honor them and treat them in a way that.
I want to say this,
Yeah.
Wendell. Back in the day, it seemed like blacks would want to work together.
Right.
You know, have you seen a change in that over the years? I mean, we as baby boomers, we understood racism and we understood Jim Crow. We were all in this fight together and we supported one another. Have you seen a change with the millennials, or do they get it? Do they understand? When I say they, I'm talking about black millennials.
They don't understand it. But, there's a number of reasons. One is they were too young. They didn't see what we saw. They didn't see what you saw when you were on a national magazine cover on the strip with Ruby Duncan. So I remember that. You as a kid really saw it firsthand. The closest that they have gotten to see is Black Lives Matter occurred when George Floyd died last year. But they don't understand it. They don't understand that how people can discriminate, keep you pigeonholed into one community and do things like that. So we lost a lot because of that. And I went to a segregated school, and my principal was my little league coach and my Sunday school teacher. So those people we saw all
Close
the time.
knit.
Saw them all the time. I couldn't get away from it. But now, teachers will beat the kids out of the parking lot, may run over them trying to get out of the so fast, But it's not that community anymore. And like my hometown is the poorest town, it's the poorest parish in the United States of America. It has the most declining population. So teachers who taught it at the high school and elementary school I went to, there was no housing for teachers. There were no apartments. There was no place to stay. So teachers ended up living with families like us. They stayed in the back room that we had. So we had the advantage of having help with homework, somebody to watch you at school. If you're cutting up, these teachers could come back and tell your parents. There were no teachers at all. This town was segregated. In the spring, they would let us out of school at 12 o'clock, and the white kids would go until 3:30. So that was because it was cotton season. So somebody got to pick the man's cotton. So whether you picking cotton or not, we did shut our school down at noon. So we just lost that part of our education. They didn't get a permission from our parents or anything.
Well, unfortunately, Las Vegas was like that. Like I said, I went to parochial school.
Yeah.
To St. Peter's. My father would drive me all the way out to St. Peter's, and that was a pretty long drive back in those days because not all, but a lot of the teachers that went to the West Side to teach were apathetic.
Yeah.
And sometimes they would only allow or they would only have classes like recess and art and no arithmetic except for our black teachers like Mabel Hogarth, Mr. Fitzgerald. They knew the importance of that. Stating that there was when blacks intermingled with whites doing the busing. Here in this town, it perpetuated that myth of us being dumb and stupid. But what it was that we lacked fundamentals. But the Jim Crow culture just took that and looked at it as though they were superior, and unfortunately, a lot of our kids thought that they were inferior. But what they lacked was fundamentals.
Right.
Going back to what you said about the millennials being desensitized with the things that you and I grew up with, I think that now they're getting a rude awakening and an education that if you don't change or know your history, it's bound to repeat itself. And that's what's happening now. And so now these young kids, and not only for our black kids, but for the other ethnic groups,
right?
You know, because it affects our young white kids and Latino kids to perpetuate these stereotypes that were put in place to keep you in place.
It's unfair to all kids.
Yes.
It's unfair to white kids, that sense of superiority, and it's really not there. You know, it may be there in some cases. Like in our community growing up, there were no street signs. So how much does one value your community if there's no street signs? Where's your business located? You know, they ain't got no street signs.
Past a couple of trees that way.
So where does Lonnie Wright live? You go down this gravel road, you turn right, you see some guys playing dominoes, make a left by the church. So it really hit me when they named the street after me in Las Vegas.
Yes.
A reporter asked me, "What street did you grow up on?" I'm like, I thought about it. I didn't know. So about 2 years, I researched it and found out it was Hancock Street, but there's no street signs. So, you know, it doesn't matter. Sometimes, well, it matters, but it shows how far. I tell my students, it's not bragging, but it shows how far one can come.
One can come that is passionate.
Right.
One that how far you can come when you know better. You know, when you know better, you're gonna do better.
That's what my mom
when
said.
When you don't know better, that's your reality.
Right.
So I wanna get back to the parade.
Okay.
So now, this year, I'm watching, and I know you don't say this, but I say this because we're having this interview. Your parade is on live television. I sat there and I watched that parade, understanding how far it had come because of your passion, and I literally had my eyes welled up.
Yeah.
Because I thought about you.
Yeah.
I saw you being interviewed during the parade, and I just said, man, you know, you can do anything. As the old Christians would say, through Christ that strengthens you. You know, you can do anything,
and you can start doing anything anytime.
Yes.
You know, it's not age, it's attitude. I was telling some kids the other day, you know, Martin Luther King finished high school at 15. Jesus Christ himself started preaching at age 12. It's not age, it's attitude. You start, and I've done this parade longer than I've done anything else in my life. And I enjoy it. You know, when it gets to a point I don't enjoy it, because I have people come up to me and say, Mr. Williams, I was in the parade when I was at Von Tobel. My daughter was in it when she was at Van Tobel. Now my granddaughter. You know, and
that's
like,
a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Man.
So I get frustrated.
That's a legacy. Then.
It's a legacy. I get frustrated by it, and it was hard work. When I see the faces of the kids of all colors having a good time.
That's what I noticed, and I want to talk about the rain. This past year, I was praying. I had my you know, I'm a believer, but I did cross my fingers and my toes, man. That it wouldn't rain, man.
Right.
On what I was thinking, my friend's parade.
Yeah.
That's pretty selfish of me, because I know you're a selfless individual. But I said, I don't want this to rain on all this hard work Wendell has put into this over the years. And tell me, what were the kids saying to you about the rain? What are some of the and your response to them when they were a little dejected about that it may rain?
Well, first of all, I remind them that when you do a parade in January, you can expect some bad weather. But adults as well will call and say, "What happens? The weather gets bad. It's rain, wind." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Dr. King marched for you and didn't know you, and for dogs, billy clubs, going to jail, and so you can give him one single day." Like people say, "Well, you've done this 41 years. That's great." It's only a drop in the bucket for what he's done for us. So I keep that in mind. I stay focused. People say, "Well, I get it. I'll be out there. I'll be out there." It should be an honor. You should wear it as a badge of honor to march in that parade when the weather's bad and when it's raining, pouring down raining. Because he did that a minute.
And I noticed those kids. I don't know how many people you gave that speech to.
I give it to everywhere I go.
but that particular day, when it did start raining,
right.
Those kids did not break stride.
Right.
They did not stop smiling. Mm-hmm. They just kept going. I'm saying, now that you told me the story, I'm saying, if I know you, that story got around to everybody.
Everybody. Because it's reality.
Yes.
Look what he did for the faceless and nameless people all over the world. And like people say, why wouldn't I have this parade in West Las Vegas? Dr. King was a world figure. He was. You had rivers and lakes and buildings named after him in other countries, even before it was named after him in the United States of America. He has. Of course, we have a sense of pride that he's African American, but you can't pigeonhole him into one particular community. Mm-hmm. Las Vegas, all parades in Las Vegas are held on the same location on 4th Street. He deserves to be right there.
Civil rights transcends the color of your skin,
right.
Your gender.
Right.
It is something that we all should have. It's only the right moral thing to do, mm-hmm. is to treat people like you want to be treated.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, because of certain ideas, I want to get your take on this. Mm-hmm. What fuels racism? Is it economics? Do people really believe that they're better? In your opinion, as an educator,
it's a number of reasons. Some people think that they're better. Obviously, some fear that they're going to lose something if somebody else gains something, and some people are actually taught this particular way of thinking. But people, it's always going to be here. I watch the old westerns on TV. It was like the Indians. They dogged the Indians out before African Americans was around. It's always something that makes people, one group want to make and God gave us everything that we need in this world, everything, and all we got to do is get along. It's enough for everybody, mm-hmm. But some people just won't let it go.
It's a spiritual thing.
It's a spiritual thing, but as racism raises its head, the good people also have to keep raising their head. Mm-hmm. To fight it. We can't give in to it.
No, you can't. You cannot. And when you see it happening, say something and do something. Like they say, if you see certain things happen, mm-hmm. Say something.
Right.
Do something in a way that that they cannot say that this person is out of control or put that stereotype. Oh, these are angry people and this and sort of thing to try to quash a movement,
When I was in the legislature, I passed the first racial profiling bill in the nation. So even some of my colleagues are saying, "We just hate the police." I'm like, so I don't hate the police. So we passed the first racial profile. There was one bill that passed in New Jersey before ours, but it only dealt with the New Jersey Turnpike. So look. So I had to go back. I passed a bill that if police officers and firemen get killed in the line of duty, their children get a free college education in Nevada. I don't hate the police at all, but I hate what police do in many cases. Not all of them, but we can't let that go. I outlawed the chokehold probably in 1990. Racial profiling passed back in 1989, but it only took the killing of George Floyd and things like that for people to realize, hey, this is a real issue. But nobody wants to touch the ones that's unpopular.
Those biases and prejudices that some people bring, when I say, I want to emphasize some, not all, that some people bring to a professional work environment can transcend police. It could be education.
Right.
It could be being demeaningful or purposely not teaching certain things to certain people that you know that they're going to need in future life. So this type of ominous hate that obviously is a part of the DNA of America, unfortunately, but not all. We have to, when you see it, you got to call it out.
Right.
You got to call it out, and you got to stand against it because that's the right thing to do.
And you have to acknowledge people of goodwill, like former Governor Richard Bryan. Richard Bryan had an understanding of how Nevada should be, in my opinion. I mean, Richard Bryan signed the MLK holiday bill. He initiated a state commission on the MLK holiday. Didn't have to do it. Same thing with Harry Reid. Same thing with even Bob Miller. You know, they promoted this. There was a guy.
You spoke of three white gentlemen that has given their time to come on this set. Richard Bryan was here, and he talked. Governor Miller spoke to my class.
Okay.
So, and these are the people that are part of the change agents. These are the people that bring people together.
I was fortunate and pleased that I served during under Richard Bryan as a governor, and I worked with Harry Reid and Bob Miller as well. They were, regardless of their personal views on things, they did what was best for the state of Nevada, and I can clearly say that with a very good conscience.
When you say the state of Nevada, for all the citizens,
all the people
of Nevada,
Yeah.
that is really good to say. I knew all three, and I've always gotten along, and in some ways, they mentored me on certain things.
Exactly.
You know, and that gives you hope that people will treat people as people, because we're all a part of the human race.
Right.
Not just, black race, white race. We're all under the auspices of the human race. And so it's just the things that we inject, the ignorance that we inject, the hate comes from the ignorance. And then we pass it down.
Right.
Now, what do you think your parade, and I keep saying that, I'm going to keep saying that, your parade, where is it going now as far as bringing the community together and educating the community?
Well, I want to see it go to a higher level. It's really not the man, it's the plan. So now I'm working on a transition of building it where the community has control of it more so than our organization. We're not the panacea of how MLK should be celebrated. I want the community to do it. A good friend of mine by the name of Shondell Newsom.
I know Shondell.
You know Shondell?
Yes.
Shondell has a very, I won't say profitable, but a very meaningful and progressive business. His daughter is his CEO. His grandkids work in his business, and all of his kids work in his business. So I'm like, Shondell, you were a good piece to this MLK thing, because your grandkids and your kids will know what's going on, because they worked the parade this past year. So I'm like, you're the person who got that I see right now who can take this and move it up to another level with your family. So that's generations. My daughter is working with it, but that's only one generation. I want to see Las Vegas have this thing forever, and I want to see it. I want to see it elevated. I want to see it elevated farther than what I did. But so I'm not selfish at all.
I knew. Going back, I remember the first MLK parades when young people that were a part of gangs would come and have their little rivalries, and I say, why mess this up and utilize something good to inject all of this negativity? You got past that. How did you get past those gangs that wanted to know that people were going to be there, innocent people? And I think that there were a few shots that rang out that kind of scared people about going to the parade. But somehow the parade kept growing despite that.
Yeah. We don't have any of that now. As a matter of fact, I don't even think about it. And when Las Vegas was smaller and it was gangs, teaching at Garside, I taught the kids from Gerson Park. So all the kids from Gerson Park that were in gangs, I knew all of them. So I was able to talk to them. They still walk around 60 years old. Hey, Mr. Williams, Mr. Williams, Mr. Williams. So they realized that that this day is important. We don't have any conflict with them at all now, and we had to move past the point of convincing Metro too that you just don't line every kid up against the wall and take their picture. They're not all gang affiliated. So we have a better relationship with Metro. That and the kids themselves has a greater awareness.
I saw a lot of Metro officers at the parade. It was a large parade, so you have to have that presence there. But I saw them enjoying the parade.
Yeah.
I saw one officer marching. I mean, he wasn't marching in the parade, but he put on a move. A couple of the music was on, and he did and that kind of warms your heart to say, hey, you know what? We're all people,
right?
And he has a job to do, but at the same time, he was able to enjoy his job.
Yeah, we have a huge delegation from North Las Vegas, from Metro, from the Black Police Officers Association, huge, and even Henderson Police and Fire. So I mean, they're part of the community, and they have to realize that we're not gonna stop. We ain't going away with this. We ain't going nowhere. The parade's gonna go on. So fortunately, I can say that we've had a real good relationship with police lately.
You have a street named after you. Now I'm going to talk about the school, and then I want to go back to my original Wendell P. Wendell P. Let's start with that, because I want to go back to why did your mother name you Wendell P. Williams?
Well, she was teaching school. I'm from a family of educators. My mom was teaching in a one-room schoolhouse. I have pictures of it where she had kids in her class, 40 years old, 6 years old, all in one class. She was making $27 a month. Saved her money, caught a bus from St. Joseph, Louisiana to Chicago, because she had heard about how innovative the school was. It was Wendell Phillips Academy. I knew that much before she passed away. So one night I was on the internet. I was researching Sam Cooke. It said Sam Cooke. There was a link to Wendell Phillips Academy in Chicago. So when she went to Chicago, she was pregnant with me at the time. She was so impressed with the school that I became Wendell Phillips Williams. So Sarah Vaughn, Nat King Cole, Johnson from Johnson Hair Products, Johnson Publications.
All of them went to this school?
All of them went to this school. And it was such an innovative school. So, as I mentioned, the high school basketball team was so good that there was a guy came from New York, got those boys, took them to New York, they became the Harlem Globetrotters. So, and there's been a lot of movies made at this school. There's been the engineering department, everything is so innovative.
And who was Wendell P? Why would they name?
So Wendell Phillips was a slave abolitionist, fought against slavery. So did his wife. Wendell Phillips was a gentleman who ran with Frederick Douglass. As a matter of fact, when you'll notice when in Frederick Douglass's books, Wendell Phillips does the introduction. He does a lot of so Freddie Douglass mentions him a lot in the book, and so about 2 years ago, and I had been to Chicago, but didn't really know that story, so I didn't go. So about 2 years ago, my daughter gave me for a Christmas present a trip to Wendell Phillips, and so we went to the school, told the principal that story of how my mother did this, and he was so impressed. He's like, man, I said, now there's a Wendell Phillips Williams School in Las Vegas now, and he said, well, our kids got to meet your kids, and your kids got to meet our kids. So those kids came from Chicago, went to Wendell Phillips Williams Elementary School a year ago, and so we were partnered with them. But you go into school, you see all kind of people like Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, who visited that school, and it's still a very, very productive school today. I mean, it's unbelievable when you walk in. I have pictures I'll send back to you, but she named me Wendell Phillips because she learned about the abolitionists, his abolitionist ways, and he fought against slavery.
What I want our viewers, and I have a lot of young viewers,
Mm-hmm.
domestically and internationally. I teach a lot of international students from Korea, from China, just all over the world that come to what I consider the number one 2-year school for hospitality, CSN. And a lot of people say, well, why do you say it's the number one? Because of all the resources, because of a lot of the people that have made this town what it is today, the Elaine Wynns and the Boyds, the Gons, the Fertitas. We can have access to those innovative people that own these mega resorts that will come and speak to our kids, that will hire our kids. Yeah. And so that's why I say we're the number one, is because of our resources.
Well, and then we're blessed and lucky to have you, because you can have a hospitality professor or teacher who may come into Las Vegas, I mean, who's well qualified, but we don't have anybody that has grown up here, who's seen the changes, and who's helped make those changes, and the commitment that you have. And I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. So, no matter what school opens anywhere in the nation, Las Vegas is a leader in hospitality. No school will be able to have what CSN has, because CNN has people like Lonnie Wright, who's born and bred, and who's seen everything. And the many people they bring in, like Harry Reid and Richard Bryan, as you mentioned, and Governor Miller, you all work with them. I mean, your time at UNLV, your time in the community, brings all those people together. I mean, there's no doubt they're not going to come out. They'll come out and talk to kids, but then they know what you bring to the table.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the esprit de corps that we have in this city is like none other, man. Where academia interfaces with industry so well in putting together a bank of talented people to take over the business, and that's what we try to do at CSN is to first of all give them a quality 2-year education. And hopefully they will articulate on to the number one 4-year school,
right?
And that's my alma mater, UNLV. For the same reasons, they have all the resources, all the people, and we continue to reinvent, hospitality, as you have been a change agent in reinventing hospitality through the medium of this parade.
Well, it's like, as busy as you are, I was thinking about it yesterday. I know you're going to go back to the athletics at some point in your life to help all those kids. I mean, there are numerous, countless athletes who played sports at UNLV came back and got their degree because of you. You know, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, it's because of the program that you established and the people who work with you. But you were the mindset. I mean, you're the one who did. I know you're going to come back and do it again. Just like right now, I have in my hometown, as I mentioned, kids will make $2 a day, $3 a day. I have a technology program for kids back in that town where they can make, if they go into cybersecurity, they can make $75 an hour doing this. So I have 16, 17, 18-year-olds who are now making from $25 an hour on up, because I got to think about the kids that's still back there. And I know you're going to do the same thing.
How are you, and I know you're doing this because I'm doing it, how are you raising up people to take your place and to continue on with making the parade bigger and better, more inclusive, more people of different cultures embracing it for the right reason, for the reasons that you said that maybe legislation only embraced it because of economics. But the right moralistic way is to pass on this type of mindset to another generation, so we have less strife and less ignorance that causes all of this unnecessary, pushback on a person's skin color.
Right.
Who are working with you? What young people are? And I know that you have some.
I have plenty, and I had the opportunity to have 3 of my former interns in one place the other recently. Stephen Hartsford, first black congressman in Nevada. He got elected when Obama got elected. He was my first intern. I got to tell you a story about them too. And my second intern was Tia Mathis. You may know Beverly Mathis.
Yes.
Beverly's daughter.
Yes.
She's in the state treasurer's office. And Sandra Douglas, the president of the Las Vegas Raiders, was my intern.
Wow.
Yeah, so we would have interns in the legislature. So kids that went to UNR, they could intern. So I was the only one, who had black interns. Most legislators use interns for going to pick up their clothes out the cleaner.
Go get me some coffee.
Right. So they were taking a class. So the class ended in April, but we were sometime adjourned in July. So I wouldn't let any of them leave. So their mouth stuck out. Like, you got to stay here. So opposed to having them as gophers, I had them to write legislation, to testify on legislation, and to hopefully pass it. So, long story short, Stephen hired Stephen Hartsford first. Stephen had a bill. Go do your research, pass it, testify. So he passed it, did all this stuff, did the right thing. So UNR would give kids at the end of the school year a $10,000 stipend for the intern of the year. So that particular year, intern of the year, Stephen Hartsford, $10,000. So like I'm talking noise, I'm bragging. So come back the next year, they give me Sandra Douglas. Sandra Douglas had a bill. She wrote a bill that said families that have children do not pay sales tax on school supplies, school clothes. Which means if you got 3 or 4 kids in your house, and you don't have to buy them, you don't pay tax on school clothes, computer equipment, school supplies. You don't pay any taxes for 2 weeks leading up to each semester. So they could take that money, buy food, and do things in their house. So they killed her bill in the Senate at the last moment. So I came home that summer, and a reporter called me from New York. He said, "I want to talk to you about that school, no school tax, no sales tax on school supply." I said, "Yeah, I had the intern that was real sharp, but it didn't pass." He said, had that bill passed, it would have been the first one in the nation. And after that, every state almost got that particular bill. So
it started with your intern.
So yeah, started with my intern. So at the end of the session, intern of the year, Sandra Douglas, $10,000. So he gave me another young man who was a Caucasian, really sharp kid. He was getting ready to go to law school. I gave him the racial profiling bill.
Wow.
So he testified on it. He did all the research. I remember one day they were in a hearing, and the legislators asked him, "What makes you think there's racial profiling in Nevada?" He said, "I tell you what, go down to the courts in Las Vegas and look who's standing in line to pay tickets." Passed it, intern of the year. So I was bragging so much, that's what they did. So the last one I had was Tia Mathis, who passed, she passed a bill that provides scholarships for kids when they're babies. Her bill passed. Now the state has adopted that. Not only her bill, but She runs that program for the state treasurer. So I mean, we have to spend time grooming and preparing other young people.
That's right.
Like Beverly's Mather sees me all the time. She says, "Oh, you just influenced my daughter." I'm like, she already had it in her. I helped her, but she said, "Oh no, it was you."
And now you have Congressman. And what is his position now? And I want to say something about the congressman. You are looking at the guy, and he if he's watching this, he's gonna tell that story.
Right.
You're looking at the guy that literally brought him home from the hospital when he was born.
Mm-hmm.
His mother, a dear friend of me and my brother, she was like our baby sister, our play baby sister.
Mm-hmm.
She had the baby. My brother called me and said, "I'm at work. Can you go pick up Pam with the baby?" So I went there, and I held Stephen when he was just a little infant, never knowing that he would interface with a person like yourself, never knowing that he would end up being in the position he's in today. That's why we cannot take for granted these little babies, these little seeds that are coming out, and how we have to nurture those seeds. I don't care who they are. I don't care what color they are. We have to nurture our youth because they are the future.
Yeah. I mean, you know Walter Jones, basketball player?
Yes.
So I was working at Doolittle, and I'm like, "Boo, where you going to go to school?" Everybody calls him Boo.
Boo.
Yeah. So he didn't know. Encouraged him, got him ready. He went to Prairie View.
Curtis P.
Yeah. So,
What Hall?
Yeah,
Curtis P. Hall.
Yeah.
Curtis Hall.
Curtis Hall. So Boo went to Prairie View. So now he's a contractor, independent contractor. So now I'm working my seat in the legislature that I held. That's when we get ready to run Boo in that seat right now.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, we get ready to run Boo in that seat right now.
So
anybody out there who may be thinking about contributions, he's gonna need them.
That's right. Well, you can start with us.
Okay,
you can start with us.
Okay, yeah.
And I know Boo. He's another passionate individual.
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
Another passionate,
right.
And he cares about the community.
Yeah.
It's not he's a politician. He really cares. You took your political position and you groom people.
Yeah, the greatest challenge I have with Boo right now in getting ready for this race is to say, look, man, you got to have some ego to run for office. He's so kind and he does so much for people. You don't want anybody to know.
Do you know something? I'm hoping that maybe someday the electric will, the people that elect our officials will become more knowledgeable.
Right.
Not so get caught up in all this sensationalism.
Popularity contest.
Yeah.
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 And that's one of the downfalls. The internet is the best thing that ever happened and the worst. Same thing with social media. They don't get out and really meet the people anymore. We had to go knock on doors and talk to folks one-on-one. And, I'm getting him to try to do it the old school way.
Yes.
Yeah. And for me, it will probably be one of the last campaigns I'll be involved with. And it would do my soul good.
How many times have you said that?
I know. That's why I said maybe. But it's going to do my soul good.
That's why you said baby, right?
To watch him get sworn in as a state legislator.
Yes. Now, let's talk about Sandra, your other intern. Now she's the president of the Las Vegas Raiders.
First African American woman for sure, to lead an NFL team. She's so smart. She's so sharp.
Oh, you can tell that.
She was also the first female to head the Gaming Control Board. That was a job she had, and she was the first city attorney for North Las Vegas.
You talk about your interns like they're your kids.
They're my kids. They're my kids. See, being a politician, it's so great to sit back and say, look, if you need something in politics, I can call my friend, call this friend, and call that friend. Lawrence, I had Lawrence up at Lake Tahoe, and I gave a speech up there at Lake Tahoe once, and he was in there like, man, I got to do that. I got to do this one day. So I had a lot of them, weekly, all of them.
Well, Lawrence always had that. When I used to put on the alumni games, or if I did a slam dunk or whatever, I would bring those athletes over to KCEP to advertise and to boost and to make it exciting and to hear something that you wouldn't normally hear. I had Danny Ainge with me one time when we brought BYU in, and a caller calls in and say, "Hey, why do you always fight with all the black guys?" He says, "Hey, have you looked around the NBA?" He said, "I'm an equal opportunity fight.
Right.
You know, whether they black or white. You know, if they doing something to try to hurt me and ruin my career, it's on. It's on." And the caller, a couple of callers behind him. This was on Lawrence's show. A couple of callers behind him say, "Hey, man, I'm a big fan of you." You know, so he turned that all around. But when I used to go on Lawrence's show with some of the athletes, I don't think I went on with Michael Jordan. But he was very amenable. He brought the best out in the interview. He's just got that gift, man.
He's a gift. You know,
he's got that gift.
You've probably heard him tell a story about how he was adopted. Yeah.
But you know something? I just recently heard that story in the last 5 years. I never knew that.
Well,
he never carried himself with a chip on his shoulder or low self-esteem. When he told that story, you could have knocked me over with a feather. I didn't know that about Lawrence, and I knew it for years.
His actual birth mother, went to high school with me. She lived across the street from me in Louisiana. So,
wow.
Yeah, had he not been, she gave him up for adoption here in Las Vegas. But his roots go all the way back to Louisiana. I said, "Boy, I know you. Look, if you had stayed there with your mom, I'd have been whooping you every single day."
Well, that was back in the day when the community could whip you.
Yeah.
You know, if you were out doing wrong, that happened here in Vegas as well.
Yeah.
You know, that type of custom where a village raises a child. You know, when you're out of line.
And ironically, his wife was born 10 miles from that place.
That's amazing, man.
Look, it was 3 towns in the parish, so every kid in the town went to one campus, first through 12th grade. We all went to one school. So, like, I met my wife in Las Vegas. She's from the same place.
Wow, that is
small as it is. We met here in Las Vegas.
And speaking of Lawrence, he's doing a great job out at the college. Yes,
yeah.
And we couldn't have hired him at a more opportune time because he bridges a lot of the gaps that needed, bridging. Between academia, students, you name it. So he's a perfect person there. Man, you have touched a lot of people, brother.
Yeah.
You know, I did not. I know what you mean to my life, but I did not know all of these stories, man.
But there's a lot of them. Like 41 years is 41 years. We took some kids back to the 25th anniversary of the March on Washington, D.C. And I look at the pictures now. These kids are people that's in the community doing things, and I got to show you some pictures one day.
Yeah,
at time.
I want to get those pictures because I want to interlace those pictures in this interview for our viewing audience. What do you think has the biggest thing that has occurred from the parade, the Martin Luther King parade? What is it? This is a unfair question because you have to answer it impromptu from the heart.
Right.
What do you think is the biggest thing that has happened during that evolution of the Martin Luther King parade?
Well, I think it shows many people, especially young people, that you can start with an idea that can grow. When I started, my first parade was like 13 entries. So now we had this past year, we had 5 entries from out of the country.
Are you kidding me?
We had 5 from out of the country. We had a band from China. We had 2 groups from Africa.
How does that happen? How did you get in contact, or did they contact you?
In different ways it happens. Some of them, like the band that came in from China, they knew some people here. some people in our Chinese community knew them and said, "Hey man, we want to bring a band out here for this parade because we love it." Yeah, and I mean they came.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And the African bands.
Yeah, African bands. We had a group from Belize. We had one from Ocean, Nigeria, to come for this parade that started like in West Las Vegas with nothing. And it's like, I didn't know anything about doing parades, don't know a whole lot now, but if you come up with an idea and you really believe in it, then you got to believe in the concept. So out of all the holidays that we celebrate in the nation, the King holiday is the only one that's a day on, not a day off. So we have a lot of groups that volunteer and do community service, that do clean up communities on that particular day. So we remind people it's a day to celebrate his birthday, to act, and we're all in this community. We don't have to go out together, drink beer together, be together, but we all can respect each other, and that's the message that we want to send.
That is a beautiful message. Are you getting a lot of your entertainers, local entertainers, in the future getting involved? Or I know that they have in the past, but especially from the millennials generation.
Even some old school. We had In Vogue this year. We had Denise Williams the last several years, and of course Bubba Knight. We have those groups. Antonio Fargas is our parade ambassador.
Yes.
So we keep Huggy Bear in there.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
people are starting to say, look, it's Vegas. We want to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I
could talk to you forever, Lonnie.
And we can talk forever.
I can talk to you forever.
We can talk forever.
I'll come back.
Yeah. I was about to ask you that. I think I've already asked you, didn't I, Art?
No,
but now officially.
I want to come back. I shouldn't say I just invite myself.
No.
I want to come back.
What the audience doesn't know. What the audience doesn't know is that I've been after this man for about a month. And I wanted to wait till the parade was over because I knew you were busy. Yeah. But I knew that we had to have you on Las Vegas Hospitality Evolution because you are a change agent. Yeah. You are an individual that has helped this town evolve in a major way, culturally, socially, in all different types of ways, bringing this community together with that parade and with you being an educator.
And I'm sure you have a lot of memorabilia from the hospitality and how Las Vegas have changed. But I got some memorabilia I want to bring to you too. I have I'm not Sarah Vaughan. Who is it?
Entertainer on the strip?
They were entertainers. I have Eartha Kitt.
Oh.
When she was at the New Frontier. So these are hotels people don't really know about it. They haven't been around. She was at the New Frontier, and I have.
Let's identify. Keep your thought. Let's identify the New Frontier. You and I know what hotel is there now. Out with the old, in with the New Frontier. I
don't know what's there now, but I got Red Fox. Got all of his stuff when he was at the Hacienda, which is now New York. Right. Yeah, and I have what's the
No. I have to correct you there, brother. As a hospitality a professor, the Hacienda is where the Mandalay Bay is.
I thought it was further out.
Yeah, it was further. Mandalay it was Bay. Further out. Yeah, and I used to go to his XXX.
Yeah, I should go to him too.
He was crazy.
People say, "Man, let's go to the Red Fox show," and people say, "Oh, that's too far out." Now it's like it's in the center of the
nowhere.
Strip. Yeah, it's nowhere. It's nowhere. But I got Ali Frazier.
Man,
I got the gloves, the seats.
Come on now, I can put some of that on the wall.
Yeah, we can do that. I think it should be in here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I appreciate that, and I want our audience to know that we have formally invited my friend back for a second session with us, and it was, as I was mentioning, it was difficult trying to get him here. But I knew we had to have you because we missed out on one giant that you and I talked about before you came on air, Stan Armstrong. Yeah. He and I had been saying, okay, I got to get you on the show because you know his contributions to this city.
I'm
Not
gonna
just
get my interns in here.
absolutely. I would love to.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my interns.
Yeah, I would love to get Sandra here and what she
Get
can
Steve
bring.
too.
Steve,
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
You know, because that just makes it a complete circle of how Las Vegans. Now this transcends the color of our skin because Las Vegans really work together.
Yeah.
We speak of the senator, we speak of the governor, all of the people, Oscar, all of these people, Oscar Goodman, all of these people love this town and love the people of this town.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what color you are.
Right.
So Las Vegas does have a culture that's really unique, man, and we've seen the uniqueness happen.
Right.
You gave us through your conversation. I had no idea that you had those interns and that you would do that tough love and say, no, you're not going anywhere. You're gonna do something now.
And there's a book. There's a book that was written by a guy out of Ohio called "The Essential Immigrant," and he gave me a chapter in his book. I had a bill once that said African Americans, women, should be mentioned in textbooks all through the book, in math, literature, science, and history.
Hidden figures.
Yeah. So Nevada should not purchase textbooks unless they include these people throughout the book. So the guy called me from Ohio and said, "Look, it's ironic you have this book, had this bill that's really inclusive in Nevada, when Patrick McCarron had a bill to keep people out of Nevada." And so that's when Harry called me and said, let me take a look at your bill. And I'm going to take a look at Patrick McCarron's record on, actually, his legislation was all racist. So that's when Harry made the move to say, we'll change the name of the airport to Reed International.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. That
a lot of things happen.
I want you to say this. I've heard you speak of this because you and I were on a committee for UNLV in the hiring of coaches and that sort of thing. But you mentioned something to me about this state of Nevada and how it was brought into under Abraham Lincoln. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Yeah, Nevada was a part of the Confederacy. It was the only state, outside the South that was a part of the Confederacy. So Lincoln needed so many votes from so many states to pass his legislation, but he couldn't do it. So what he did, which was pretty smart, he went to the territories. Nevada was a territory at the time, and said, "Look, how would you territories like to become states?" So none of them took him on and said, "I'll do it," but Nevada. So Nevada was founded under the Confederacy, which is why we have
Nevada Southern.
And then you go into the Nevada legislature, there's a big picture of Lincoln up there, and because he was a guy who made us a state. So obviously that particular mentality came and was prominent in Nevada. So UNLV, same thing. You get the rebel,
when I was a freshman, and you remember this, the cheerleaders used to run on the floor with the Confederate flag, and the mascot was a mascot called Beauregard, and I think Beauregard was some type of general in the Confederate Army, and it just went over our head, except for one, and people don't like this word, woke individual from Berkeley, and that was Otis Allison, that said, "Hey, I'm not going out on the floor with this waving of the Confederate flag." And I said, "Well, I was just totally naive to it."
Yeah.
And he had to school the rest of us. We had a protest. They stopped bringing that flag out there, and it wasn't really a hard thing because there are people of goodwill in this town,
Oh, absolutely.
and it transcends the color of their skin.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that Beauregard person. Now there are some people that push back against it, but it didn't last long.
Yeah, but UNLV's student council was called the Children of the Confederacy originally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, what history, man.
Yeah.
What history and how it has evolved.
Yes.
How it has evolved to include people and to stamp out some of the ignorance and to, you know, I can't stop talking, man. Listen, I want to know why, just from your point of view, because I respect your point of view, that they're trying to turn the clock back. They don't want anything in the libraries that are going to share Black history, which is American history, but it does. Why do you think that is happening, and what kind of effect is that going to have on the younger generations?
Well, it's you know, I may be naive, but I don't think it's really going to catch on nationally. It's going to have a very, very negative effect. It's going to have an effect on all children, regardless of the color, because they won't get the true history. That's what Make America Great Again is all about, going back. You know, taking it back. Some people want to turn back the hands of the clock. Some want to throw the whole damn clock away. Mm-hmm. But you know, we got to be good people of goodwill and keep reminding people that you know, we're here too. We ain't going nowhere.
Yes, without balling up your fist.
Yeah,
trying to reason with people. And there are Americans are very reasonable people by and large.
Right.
There are some, and it transcends the color of your skin or your gender that you just can't reason with them.
Well, you know, Wendell P. Williams Elementary is formerly James Madison Elementary. But James Madison, so you have mostly African American students.
Right.
James Madison was the one who wrote that African Americans is 3/5 human in the Constitution. James Madison.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
And now it's turned.
James Madison had a large number of slaves before he went to the White House and while he was in the White House. He married Dolly Madison that had 3 times as many slaves as he did. And they owned these slaves while they were in the White House. So, I mean, I respect the man. He was the president of the United States, but he was a slave owner. You know, if you're going to these little kids sitting in class, what are you really teaching them? You're 3/5 human. So now we have evolved.
Yeah, I would say that by divine intervention, you're interfacing with different people, the people that you've touched, and the people that they're gonna touch, and the people that they will touch. Is all a part of this evolution.
When they changed its name of the school to my name, they actually changed it in 2 ways. They changed it to Wendell Williams Elementary, and they changed it to Wendell Phillips, who was a slave abolitionist. So
that's amazing, man.
So,
God has a sense of humor, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Yes, he
does. And what do our old people say? Won't he do it?
Won't he do it?
Won't he do it? All right. We will see you the next time that we are graced to have my good friend Wendell P. Williams here. Now I know what that P stands for. We just on the blog used to call him Wendell P.
Right.
But now we know the whole story. So thank you for joining us, and hit like and subscribe to our Las Vegas Hospitality Evolution. Thank you.